Yes.
This
Definitely.
is Sunday, the 2nd of January, 2022. Or is it 1022? Or the year 950? What year are we really in? And I'm so delighted to be joined with my sisters from all over the world. And before we begin, let's get into a heart coherent state so our hearts can be open and our minds can be open. Focus your attention on the area of your heart, imagining your breath is flowing in and out of the heart space, which is the living portal. And make an honest attempt to activate a feeling of compassion, gratitude, joy for self and all of our fellows. And let's just hold that there for a few moments. Bring it back when you're ready.
I just have to say, you're all looking so beautiful and radiant.
I was going to say the same.
It's so good to see.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to say, and I want to do it now because it is around now. So today, and at this actual time, well, between 6 and 6:15 for me, so that's now, it's 21 years since my father passed away. That's actually right
Wow.
now. Yeah, so I
Love.
just wanted to wish him divine flow wherever he may be.
Yeah.
God bless.
So it is.
Just wanted to say that because that's important.
It's very important.
He made you.
Thank you.
He left a wonderful thing on this earth.
Trouble.
A thing called you. A thing called Christianne.
Trouble
Came
for
to
the
us
Matrix.
Oh, yeah. Destroy the Matrix. Oh, look, you're in the shot.
Ah,
Mirror image.
you've got extras.
You have a video bomber.
Well, ladies, let's begin. 2022, a brand new year. And I think Jen said it so beautifully before we pressed play, is we really are being called to remember we are creators of our own reality. And it's time to allow the old to crumble, because those in the collective will meet their blind spots. They will see what perhaps they have not seen before in perfect divine timing, because it's always in perfect timing. And so we begin the year focusing on creativity and creating the new, the world that we want, as we allow the other to crumble, the old story, the old book, as we begin a new book, and hopefully in a completely new library, to use that metaphor. So I made a couple of notes. It's time now to move forward, because it feels like the splitting has already happened. We can reflect in a little bit about what happened in 2021 and what we learned. But it's time now to move forward, and it will be with great speed. It feels like it's going to be quantum leaps. I had the great gift of witnessing an owl in flight yesterday. You know, when you look to the right and you can just see the wings cut through. And I always find that to be such a gift when you have a moment of witnessing God in action, because it's everywhere. But we've been so cultured not to see. So it feels like the chasm of polarity is so wide, and there's a great amount of friction. And I believe that friction is what allows us to leap forward in our evolution. But we really do need to focus on the new while the old crumbles away. And I remember the very first call that the talk that we did a couple of years ago, I had that vision of all the cards being up in the air. And now it's like the pieces are they're falling down now and coming into complete part of the big picture. So with that said, who would like to begin their reflection on 2021? Because I'm sure it'll ignite and spark more conversation amongst us and hopefully those that are watching this today. So maybe Tara, you look very ready perhaps to share.
I think I'm always ready. Do you know what? I just want to give a big shout out to all the people that have been watching our Divine Feminine Roundtable since we started. And it's actually shy of 2 years. I think we started in April 2020. And so I know that a lot of people, mostly women, but lots and lots of people have been following our videos for a long time now. And I just want to say a huge, massive, big love and thank you to all of you for watching and for sharing as you do so much and so graciously, and spreading the messages and everything that we have to share on here, and just keep going. And we love you very much. I know I speak for all of us when I say that. But I was reflecting with a friend of mine, Scotty Saw. He's created this thing called the Humanity Project, and he's just a beautiful soul. And we were laughing our heads off. And we were thinking of all the things that we'd learned in 2021 that we didn't know before. So you talked about, the pieces falling into play and our eyes being opened, Paula. And I was like, even though I can look on YouTube and research now, I didn't know that we had hidden history and a great big chunk of the world was called Tartaria. I didn't know that up until last year in the summer. And I started learning about that and looking into whether our planet is actually a planet or if it's some kind of sphere, sort of plane or something else. Yeah, and the realm, yeah, with the firmament and all these ripples, and it makes sense. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so exciting. And all this new history being uncovered. And the fact that, there's videos out there with evidence that the dates have been changed and that we're perhaps missing an entire 1,000 years or it's been added on. And it's actually the year 1022 now and not 2022. And just all these, it is just like, whoa, nothing is what we thought it was. The stuff that we've been told anyway, the truth is always going to be the truth. And when we know, and there's nothing that's unshakable, and that becomes firmer if it's possible for that to become firmer by the day, more rooted, more anchored in total truth. But in terms of what we've been told about our collective history and who we are as a species and where we come from and, what's happened on our planet, it's just like, oh my God, anything is possible. We know we've been lied to so much. And now the lies just seem to just be like mind blowing. And it's kind of, on one level, it could be disturbing, but I also think it's really fun. It's like, okay, it's the Great Reset, right? In the awakening sense, not in the Klaus, what's his name? Who I'm talking about, his reset. We're talking about this, the awakening of consciousness and this shift in humanity. And so we do have to let go of everything we think we know. And it's only what we think we know. We have to let go of our personal identities that we've constructed and our collective identities that we've constructed about who and what humanity is and where we come from, in order that we can be totally clean, totally pure, and receive what's really, really the truth and what's really meant for us, and step into that divine co-creational being that we've been created to be. And it's really great. It's like, oh, that's not true. Whee! It's like liberating. And I think it's really playful and fun. So I was wondering with you girls, what else you learned last year that you didn't know before, that was a great revelation for you to let go of.
Well, everything you just said, about our history and what we think we know, because at this point, they could say the world is a triangle, and I'd be like, oh, right, okay, so maybe that's true, right? Because to your point, and even people, even the names that we've been told people are not who they are. It's almost like everybody's, or perhaps those that had significant role in our society, they're not even who we thought they were. And even, even family members, they're not who perhaps you thought they were, or not as loving or forgiving as you thought they might be, based on, perhaps Christmas celebrations where those that have participated in the jibby jabby juice are allowed to go to a certain Christmas dinner, and those that have not are forbidden. They're not allowed. They're not welcome. So I think in many ways, this whole situation that we've been in is a huge gift, because it is going to guarantee humanity's liberation, because with it, with all the lies and deception that have been around it, it's going to create the fall of science, of education, of healthcare, of legal, of law, as we can see how it's so distorted. So, I mean, that's a huge eye opener. And the biggest gift, though, I feel, is the opportunity for self-reflection and to know who you are, in spite of what others may say that you are or aren't. If you're not following the rules, like, how dare you not do as you're told, you know, get back in this tribe. And to pave your own path forward is a huge gift, because then you stand in your own strength and in your sovereignty, which is so important, I think, moving forward. So yeah, history, who are we? Where do we come from? All that is all brand new. And I think this is so exciting for what's to unfold. Like learning about who, you know, our history, what it really is, like the truth of everything. It might be a little bit bumpy. It might be like, holy cats, I didn't know that. It's not quite as pretty as I thought, but the truth will prevail. And I think that the hearts of humanity will open and inspire the way forward. And I think that's what we have. We got to move from here to here, from the head to the heart. The heart has to become the master and the mind become a servant of the heart. And I think that's a wonderful way forward. That's what I just want to add. It's going to be fun. And we're going to discover fairies and pixies and all those wonderful, playful things that we've been told are not true, the magic and the miracles of life and creation.
That's so true.
Shall I say something?
Yes,
Thank you, Paula.
I'm telling you, you're allowed to now, so you're allowed to.
Thank you so much. My mouth shall now open.
Have permission.
So it's interesting how we have such similar themes. It just happens, doesn't it? And you know, when you talk about all the lies, you know, the seat is so deep that every time you think you've reached the bottom of the whole thing, another lid opens again, and then you can't trust this and you can't trust that. So what I learned in 2021 is that basically we live in a complete lie in almost every aspect in our life. And that's why Paula is right. The only way to stay in a healthy navigation within all this is to be connected to the heart and the spirit. That's the only thing you can pretty much trust within it. So I wrote a few things down I wanted to say about what I've learned about 2021, is that the duality thing. I was much more in sort of fight mode and much more like going against it and wanting to make the change and and while I was making the film about the Cathars in the south of France, and I was spending time with the absolute Cathar expert, and he was explaining to me what the Cathar movement stood for. You know, it was all about, you know, lifting out of that duality, and that this new world that we're aiming for can only be created, really only be created when we move out of that duality and no longer play the game. Because as soon as we're in that game, we're in it and we're part of it. And there's always a drama. Wherever you'll look, you'll always find a drama somewhere. You know, it's just the way our mind works. So when we become aware of that, it's suddenly we're in a new playing field. And, you know, when we're talking about really creating a new world, I've been having a really strong feeling not to put any solid roots down. So if we're saying, okay, we would like a new eco community or something, I keep on feeling, no, don't do that right now. So when we speak about a new world, I really feel it totally is within. It totally is a new world within, and the rest will automatically start to happen outside, pardon me, outside of us, but not yet. I feel there's going to be a lot more destruction happening. And 2022 to me is, I'm feeling when I tap into this year, I get that the destruction will be quite epic. And especially when it comes to scandals coming to light. You know, if my visions are correct, we're going to have governments admitting that the jibby jabbies are incredibly dangerous and lethal to people. I think it's all going to come out. I'm not necessarily saying that that's going to be a good thing, because I do think, because the deceit is so deep, you know, we have to always keep wondering, like, what are they playing at? What's their, what is, you know, oh, they're playing in our hands right now, but why? What is their next thing? So I think it's very important to stay aligned to what we want the outcome to be. And 2021, I was quite negative in a way, even though I had a great year. I was quite negative because I really felt the Great Reset, the Klaus Schwab one, it's happening. I really felt it was going so quick, all the changes, you know, the QR codes, and it just suddenly went so quick, and I saw so few people really standing up. I was like, oh man, this really terrible timeline is happening. And in the last few weeks, I felt, no, it's not. Like, I'm feeling very, very excited and optimistic again, and connected, very connected. And I haven't had that for a long time. And I think you guys remember as well, you know, a few of these round tables that I was sort of the negative one, and that you all had to sort of go, oh no, Chrissy, it's okay, because I really was thinking, like, this is not good. So yeah, I've got great faith in 2022. Got a few more things to say, but we can do it later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy. What did I learn in 2021? Well, I was doing videos with Charlie Freak in 2020, and his mentor was Santa Bonosci, and so he was sort of like dropping the old flat earth red pill in the community. And I had loads of people write to me like, Jen, what do you think? And I was like, I don't know, I'm only just learning about it. And so I think the seed was planted in 2020, but in 2021, it was like I got this really, really deep natural interest in Tartaria, and I started really studying it and exploring it, and it was all just made perfect sense. And then the thing that was just like, well, they've lied to us about everything, so surely they've lied to us about that as well. And it makes sense that they would lie about that, because how can we orientate ourselves when we think that we're like spinning? And so it's like, you know, this has all been part of the agenda for us to sort of like, you know, be disconnected from our map home somehow within our own DNA, within our own consciousness. So yeah, it's been amazing. And I've been going to London going, oh my God, there's a Tartarian building. What, you're telling me they built that building there in the 13th century with no electricity? Are you having a laugh? And do you know what? There's this building, I live in Hove, and there's this building being built at the moment, and I can see the foundation. It is so deep. And all of these massive epic buildings in like London, they will have the most extraordinary foundations. What, you're telling me men rolled their sleeves up, like pulling out all the mud to make those, like, you know, epic foundations of like digging out concrete and stuff. So it's like, it just takes a little bit of common sense, and you know, you can just see, and it's so beautiful, your eyes open in a new way. Like, I love going to London now, because I love going, oh look, there's an old world building, there's an old world building, there's a Tartarian building, and it's just so fascinating. So yeah, I definitely really, that started landing for me this year, this whole thing about the stationary earth, and it's kind of like plain. I mean, it's sort of there anyway, it's kind of like written in plain English anyway. And that does make sense. And I've been listening to Santos Bonosci as well, and he's very, very amazing. So that's definitely opened up. But I think my big thing that I want to sort of transmit to everyone in my community is what we spoke about at the beginning, and it's just that, like, we're so powerful, like we're so ridiculously powerful, each of us on an individual level. This is why they've gone to such bother, like trying to, you know, mess with us in a way, because we're so powerful. And so my prayer is that we really start focusing on the world, the relationships, the health, the society that we want to create, because we are literally creator beings. We are fractals of God, and we're creator beings. And so you know, we've got this kind of like societal addiction to moaning and really kind of like pointing out all of the afflictions and stuff like that. And I just think we all need to level up now. We need to like mature and just understand and really deeply take responsibility for the spells that we are casting, because we get to create this new world, but it starts with us. Like, we are the individual micros creating in this universal matrix, and all power lies with us. So this is an invitation for all of us, myself included, because it's so fascinating. I find the whole like shit show so fascinating, and I'm like every night with my popcorn going, oh my god, this happened today and that happened today. And it's amazing. It's a brilliant show. We've got the front seat, like, you know, front seat to the greatest show on earth. But I really want to use the energy of 2022 to stop focusing on that, stop focusing on the destruction. We know that it's collapsing. We know that Babylon is falling. We know that Babylon's fallen. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, now we really can start getting on with building anew. So yeah, that's what I want to, you know, sort of like put out into the collective, generally speaking.
Thanks.
Totally.
Can I just say, oh, sorry.
Yes, darling.
It's
Oh.
so interesting. You both are talking about. Oh, there's Nina connecting to.
Yeah.
Audio. Awesome. You're both talking about. Hi, Nina.
Hi, Nina.
Hi, Nina. Hi, darling.
We're just talking really briefly. Jen was just wrapping up. We were just talking about what did we learn in 2021. So we'll let Chrissy finish her thought, and maybe Nina, you want to jump in and share, and then we can continue together. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, so Tara and Jen have, well, actually, Paula, I think you as well, about the history that we think is real, and that and you know, we're not even in the time that we're supposed to be in. So I've been reading, and I just really want to mention this. So there's a writer, John V. Panella. Nobody can find him. We wonder if he even exists, and he's done this whole series of the Divine Secret Garden series. They're audio books, they're also PDF books, but there's 3 books, books 6, 7, and 8, that talk all about planet Earth being a simulation, and explaining how. And again, you know, not a sphere, but third dimension basically being a simulation created by a 4th dimension. And it talks really in detail about how we're stuck in a time loop, a 1,000-year time loop each time. And it also really explains on how to move out of this time loop as a collective. So I really suggest looking those up. I think it's on YouTube, these books, Divine Secret Garden series, 8 books. And it's one of the most practical works I've seen so far on how for us to move literally out of this simulation that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Chrissy. Go ahead, Nina. Thank you for joining us. What did you learn in 2021?
My goodness. What did I not learn? What did we not learn? I feel like more than anything, my faith is just bigger than ever, where it's like, no matter what's happening, even if we're stuck in a simulation, my faith is bigger than that. And my knowingness that no matter what happens, God, source, mother, father, creator is bigger than all of that. I feel like I also learned a lot about loving myself and having compassion and understanding for myself, but also for others. And acceptance of what is, because what is really, has been really challenging on so many levels. Even just this past week, I found out some dear, dear friends that I had no idea, you know, went down the V road, if you know what I'm saying. And it's just always shocking to find that out, and to just continually find out who's going down the V road, and just to really feel this massive separation that's occurring in our consciousness. I also feel like 2021 for me was about isolation. I think it was about isolation for a lot of us. And I feel going into 2022, the message that I've been getting over and over and what's happening for me is it's the tribe coming together. And it's the time when a lot of the star seeds that have been spread all over the grid are now being allowed, given permission to find one another. It's also because our vibe attracts our tribe. And so since we have this massive split in consciousness, we're also really aware right now of if something is in resonance, if someone is in resonance, or if it is in dissonance. So in a way, it makes it easier to navigate, even though the navigation can be a bit shocking. And 2021 was interesting for me because I relocated to a completely new place, and then on the Lion's Gate was pulled out of that place. So it's just been about letting go and having trust and being really unattached to anything and anyone. And that's also been really hard as well, the unattachment part, because I think it's natural for us to emotionally want to attach, especially because we've been so isolated. And I know I feel that personally. I really feel that. And I also don't want to go into that attachment. But with the people that I'm in resonance with, it's so easy to want to be like, oh my gosh, you're my family. This is my family. But how is it going to be in 2 weeks? And that's what's been really challenging with this is something can resonate so much for like a period of a month or 2 weeks or even 3 weeks. And you go through it and you're going through this evolutionary process together. You're exchanging codes. A lot of the star seeds right now that I'm meeting, like we're exchanging codes in our DNA. And not through physical way, just like igniting each other by being in each other's presence. And then sometimes it's like, and we're finished with that. And then you're moving on to the next thing. So a lot of it is just really about unattachment and trust.
Nice.
Thank you, Nina.
Yeah.
I had to move as well. But when you trust, to your point, and I wanted this to sort of dovetails off of what Chrissy was just sharing about not laying the roots down too deeply, because I think we're totally in transition. Like, so we rented a place, and they decided to put it up for sale. And of course, you can't stay around just in case it doesn't sell, or they want to keep the people that are living there. But inside of 2 weeks, we already had a new place with 20 acres and a pond and a running creek. So I've got this beautiful brook sound. When you sit outside, you've got this, oh my gosh, it's like we got an upgrade. But at first it's like, oh my Lord, I got to move, because that's such a big thing to pick up all your stuff and move, right? But when you trust, even though we think we're alone, we're never alone. We're never alone. And when you tune in, you can actually feel the presence of your entire team with you. And it almost feels like when you do consciously recognize their presence in your space through your heart, that they're all like, yay, she sees us, yay. They're high-fiving on that side, right? Like they know, yay, we got through the veil. But yeah, so it's transitional, I think. What the guide said in a recent teaching, which is called Seeing God, what they're talking about now is that you must trust that this wave of change is carrying you to higher shores. You must trust. And the other thing that they're teaching us now is that our biggest challenge is going to be to not label the new as it starts to unfold and make itself present in our reality. They said that our greatest challenge will be saying, well, that looks kind of like a rainbow, or that looks like a sort of blue. They said, don't do that. Allow yourself to be taught and ask it what it is. So if you see something brand new in your vision or in your psychic mind's eye that we don't want to label it with the old, right? Because this is all about beyond the known, things that we've never seen before. And then we speak it into being. But they said, allow yourself to be taught and ask it what it is. Ask what this new thing is that's presenting. And that's the part that's so exciting, is because we are going to create it and bring it forth, which is really awesome.
I really resonate with that, Paula, because for many, many years, going back many years, I mean, really lots of years, I've had a transmission coming through repeatedly. We're in a return to innocence. And I know, Jen, you were talking about this as well last year. I think it was last year. And so the rebirthing and all of that stuff, but in return to innocence, we're returning to our essential essence of who we are. So yes, the identity has to fall away. And basing our identity on where we live, or like you said, family members, or you know, where, whatever, or certain facts of history that aren't actually facts anymore. It's like all of that. It's so, when you're in that place of innocence, it makes it so effortless to let all of that false identity drop away. And I know what I've seen a lot last year was a lot of people really struggling with that identity, and mainly of the victim identity. That things have been done to them, and then they've got to fight, or they're lost, and they've got to then depend on someone else. And I saw a lot of people kind of hanging off other speakers or teachers or influencers, like, feed me another crumb, like, I'm desperate today and help me today. And I just really want to say to everyone, you don't need that identity. It's not serving anybody. And it's not really the truth of your identity. It's not really you. That's something else. That's a programmed voice that's going on inside of you. And it's not the truth. And really let that fall away. And when you know, another word is sovereignty, coming into your sovereignty, or just being in the heart of a child, being in that place of total faith that you talked about, Nina, being in that place of innocence of like, who am I today? And tasting food like you'd never tasted it before, waking up with a sense of wonder, what's happening in the world today, and not what's happening on the news and what's going to freak me out and what am I going to react to and create a drama about, and then, you know, go and post in all the chat groups about and spread all this stuff, you know, posting all these crazy stories everywhere. But like, yeah, what wants to communicate with me today? Because in that return to innocence, there's a return to the inner sense, the inner senses that you innately know. And this is going back to the Tartaria thing. You know, when I saw those diagrams and the pictures of how the energy systems worked with the water and the electrical towers, that everything in my body was just going, true. I remember, that's real. And everything, all the dots start joining up. But the picture's not complete yet. So right. I don't want to fix it into a this is how it was and this is how it is. It's like maybe it's part of our real true identity being uncovered before our eyes, with a sense of playfulness, wonder, curiosity, open-heartedness, to go, well, you know, what do I know? What have I got embedded in my not that long ago history, in my DNA, in my cellular memory, in my collective consciousness, that I already know about all these amazing technologies and how to work with energies and how to speak to fairies and how to talk to plants for medicine. And I know what to put in my body and I know what to eat without having to follow somebody else's stuff. Do you know what I mean? Not that I'm saying don't listen to teachers and guides, of course, like we learn from each other, but not to be like dependent on it, like, you know, starving. It's like, let go of that identity that's really never been you. And it doesn't have to be traumatic. It can be really liberating, and such relief can happen. And and just tapping into your inner sense and your essence of who you really are. And I think it's beautiful. And I just think it's super exciting. And I feel like we're going to see a lot more of that blossoming in 2022, really loads. And the creativity and technologies that have been hidden from us or that we've forgotten about are going to be coming up to the surface. And the beginning of a build of the new earth. I love it.
Tara, can I just say thank you so much? I think it's really important that you mentioned about people listening to others. I think now more than ever, people like yourselves who are, you know, teachers in your own right, but also me as a filmmaker, You know, that it's so incredibly vital that that the teachings are about people starting to tap into their own truth instruments. Because I have seen a lot in 2021 that there was quite a large wave of people waking up because of the whole situation. But the first thing that happens then is they go, oh, who knows more? And they start, you know, fervently following this person and listening to every word they say. And that's actually another trap again, you know, another trap to fall into. So I do feel this year should be very much about, you know, taking, you know, understanding the responsibility we have, that we don't tell them this is what's going to happen, this is what you should be doing, because that's absolutely not where we're meant to be going. The navigation in our own hearts is the direction. That's what I feel. I think it's very important to really start being okay listening. If you're not used to it, quite a new thing, you know, it can be weird, you know what you can trust, but you can develop this instrument and really start tapping into what is my truth in this. And yeah, this whole idea of teacher pupil phenomenon that we've had for a long time is going to change. Thank you.
I agree.
Yeah. I really agree with that. And I feel like what's really tricky about this time is that we together are remembering and uncovering and encoding so many different timelines. And each one of us has in our own cosmic DNA the various keys to those timelines. So as we're meeting one another, this is what I've been experiencing. A lot of these past inverted timelines are being revealed, and they're very much tied as well to the masculine and feminine archetypes. But like Tartaria is just one piece of that. And so I think that what's tricky for us is to not just attach to, oh, it's Tartaria now, or like, oh, it's Lemuria now, or oh, it's inverted Atlantis now. It's like, no, it's all connected to the inversion, but ultimately the only thing that we can attach to is source.
100%.
And it's natural for us. I mean, I even struggle with this. It's natural for us to want to attach to something, because in the midst of chaos, it's natural when you're losing friends and family, or when you've been isolated for a long time, to want to attach to this person or thing. And yet we're in such a time of transformation that like changes from moment to moment, day to day, that we really can't do that, because maybe that exchange or that revealing was meant to happen specifically because you designed it that way in your own evolutionary process of awakening, but it's not meant to be there for the long term. And so you've exchanged, or you've received what you needed to receive. And now actually your soul is calling you somewhere entirely new and different. And can be that resistance of, but I want to feel like I belong, or I want to feel like I have a family because I've lost all my family, or I want to feel like I belong to a place because I feel like I'm skating on thin ice and it's cracking beneath my feet, and I'm just trying to grasp onto anything. And I just constantly come back to my Father God saying, I am the only foundation. If you just continue to hold on to me, I will take you through this, whether it be trying to discern where to move, or to discern to be in relationship with someone, or discern what work to do. It's like, just, I know what's been going on for me is the more that I surrender and just say, okay, your will be done. Beyond my own ego, beyond my own fears, beyond my own attachments. If it's not for me, if it's not my highest and best, take it out of my life, which requires complete and total non-attachment and total trust to a source God, because when those things get taken away, it can freaking hurt.
Mm.
And I think that a lot of people are going through a lot of pain right now of having had a lot taken away. And also the excitement for, well, if there's all this space now that's been created, what is going to come in and fill that space? But then it's like, I'm also understanding that then that can also be taken away, because maybe that's only meant to come in and fill that space for a very small amount of time until that lesson is complete. And we're on this massive accelerated journey of awakening, walking through multiple timelines constantly meeting each other, reconstructing inverted karmas. And it's just, it's like popcorn. It's so fast.
Yeah, I think
I'm willing to let go of everything. Sorry.
well, that's okay. I just to further Nina's point and everything that we've been talking about today is we really want to hold on to our beliefs as loosely as water, because everything is going to be challenged about our idea of reality, our idea. When you know who you are, you know who everybody else is, right? And you know that you're a child of God, you know that everybody else is as well. And when they're in struggle, they're in their own challenges, and it's their journey. God bless them. It's not our journey, it's their journey. We can have compassion for them. So I think part of the theme as well for 2022, especially for the collective or for anyone who's just beginning to awaken to their divinity, is their beliefs are going to be absolutely shattered. What they thought was true. We've already been kind of talking about that. And the biggest one, I've talked about this many, many times, you know, humanity only really has, you know, their suffering can be, our suffering as humanity can be reduced to a single idea. And that's the denial of God, the denial of source. Because when we do that as a collective, that's how we've created this world. It's a heartless world. All of the ego mind, it's, I better get mine, get mine and screw you on yours. But as we shift as our light continues to shine brighter, we are going to be at a point where that will not be allowed. It will never be allowed for anyone to have harm done to them. And it's not, you got to earn your money so you can have fresh water and food. All of that will be innately demanded by our consciousness, which is so exciting. But it can be scary as hell when the ground beneath your feet is quaking and there's no stability. And that's why you've got to go to the heart, because that's your rock. Because when you're connected to source so strongly that no matter what is happening out there, that you can retreat to this inner heaven, as the kingdom of heaven is within, and the keys to the kingdom are our agreement to it, that is when the first stepping stone will appear before our feet. And we know to take that step forward, because we, the picture they're showing me is like of a little girl holding on to this massive hand that guides us forward. And, we've said this so many times, right? It's what's so awesome about our little chats is there's so many reoccurring themes and knowings that are solid within all of us. So the belief, I think that's going to be a huge thing for the collective this year, is the release of this idea that they're separate from each other, separate from our planet, separate from God. And what an absolute honor it is, because I got to share this with you, because I am so excited. You all know what happened to my partner, right? With the forcing of that and all that kind of stuff. So 30 years of, I'm calling it event-related stress injury, because PTSD implies you're broken and that you can't be healed. But I was appointed or asked to be the clinical director for the ERSI Brain Project. It's part of a cause that I'm with, which is about transformation of the brain, whether it's a physical injury or it's just the thinking, right? The thinking. And we've all gone through event-related stress injury with what's just happened in the last 2 years. So how do we help those that walk behind us, right? Or walk on the path with us, is by allowing that source light to be so bright, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? Matter, physical matter, it doesn't matter. We create the new. Sorry, I went off on a tangent, but that was what I wanted to share. Is my husband, he's going to write a book about all the things he saw as an officer and all the things that he's had to bury. Because he said, you know, some stories I don't want to tell. And I said, then you write them down and you give them to God and burn them in the fireplace. They never need to be read by anybody else. But the fact that he can get it out of his system, get it off his chest, so to speak, will create space in his own mind, because he's had to reconcile all of that. And he's reading Dr. Wayne Dyer, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And he's meditating, which is like, you know what I mean? When someone wakes up to their weight, there's more. There's more for me than I've been told. And I hear it's on the inside. I'm going to check that out for a bit. That is just such a gift. I just wanted to share that. I'll be quiet now.
That's amazing and beautiful. I love that. I love hearing that. Yeah.
What was the question?
Well, like an hour ago.
Yeah, what was it?
I think we were just rolling with it.
I don't think there is a question.
Just rolling with anything that we want to say. Okay.
Whatever.
Well, I've been working on my third book this year, which is called Manifestation Mastery. And I've been learning so much about the subconscious mind and about programming and about manifestation and about how to imprint the subconscious mind and all these protocols and techniques and hacks, ultimately like manifestation hacks. And it's been such a deep dive, like it really has, creating this book. And I've also created a light language oracle or a light code oracle to go with it to support you on your manifestation journey or your journey to become a master manifester. So, you know, I'm like stuck on this one about, you know, it's so important. Like our subconscious mind is the seat of our creation. And so it's like every single thing that we say, we are creating that. And it's just back to exactly what I said last time. And it's like, you know, it's so important that we really start creating the world that we want to live in, and we start speaking about the world that we want to live in and casting those spells and imprinting upon our subconscious mind the new earth and stuff like that, instead of like focusing on the old earth and the shit show and stuff like that. Actually, we can really use the power of our consciousness to focus on the new earth. And so that's my inspiration to everyone. Like just play around with it, and you can apply this to any area. Like say for example, you have really shit relationships in your life. Well, it's probably because you're telling yourself that story that you have shit relationships. Do you know what I mean? If you just could stop saying that and start choosing different thoughts and start visualizing different stuff, it is so quick. The shift that happens, the mirrors that happen are so quick, and we can literally apply it to anything. We can apply it to our relationship with wealth and abundance, with health, relationships, the creation of the new earth. And so it's like, you know, we're all so powerful, and that is the inspiration that I just wish for everyone who's listening to this, is just to run with that truth. Like there is a reason why the controllers have been trying to mess with everyone's consciousness, because we're so freaking powerful. And so there's no greater spiritual authority other than you in the universe, and we are role models and we are guides. That's all we are. We're just simply mirrors. But you are the source. And it's so important that we're having that conversation. And so may we all have that as a focus for 2022, to find our connection, our direct connection with source energy. And for me, how I've been able to find that is through being committed to a spiritual practice of resting as awareness for short moments. But there are many spiritual practices, and I would highly advocate at the wonderful start of the new year to find a spiritual practice that is going to enable you to, well, for me, it's about getting the egoic narrative out of the way and coming back to that vibration of emptiness. Because if you think about it, all the instruments are empty. Like a guitar's hollow, a drum is hollow, a flute is hollow. And why are they hollow? So that they can receive the essence of the divinity, of the divine spirit can flow through the instruments. And that is really our job, is to become empty, So me, what does that mean? It means not being driven by my egoic consciousness that is addicted to this false idea of separation. So finding a spiritual practice of, for me, it's just stopping things. And I learned this practice in India, in Goa a few years ago, and it's very, very grateful. And what it does is it gets your ego out of the way, and you start cultivating the vibration of emptiness and basically hollowness, emptiness. And from that place, again, it's all very, very quick. This has been my experience, that when you really make that commitment to shift and to connect with source energy, it doesn't take long. It really doesn't take long. It just takes for you to make that commitment and to understand that, you know, I had a bit of a revelation about 3D and 5D yesterday. It's like 3D consciousness is like an egg, and 5D consciousness is basically an omelette. So you've got a choice. You can be an egg or you can be an omelette. and that's it. Do you know what I mean? And so by us going on this path of emptiness, essentially we become omelettes. And that's what makes God really, really happy. Over and out, goddesses.
That is so cool, Jen.
So cool, isn't it?
That is cool.
Segue into something, because it's a big thing that I became aware of, is the whole phenomenon of mind control. I know we've talked about it and quite at length before, but I think that because there's a mass hypnosis happening on the planet, even though we are awakening from it, we do have, I believe, triggers that can pull us back into matrix thinking, or matrix collective thinking. And I think it would be really interesting if we can some way, somehow start to see what are these triggers, what are these mind control techniques that are being used in the mass consciousness. You know, it's not maybe a person doing it, but just something that's happening, a particular sound or a particular type of rain, or 3 words that are being spoken on the news or whatever, you know. I would love to find out more about how this dream that we are in is being kept going by the masses.
Well, can I jump in?
Yes.
So my thought on this, the first thing
Yeah, please.
in mind is there's very practically oxygen deprivation. We can go for a month without food. We can go for days without water. But the brain, in order for it to function, has to have oxygen, right? When you're depleting it for 8 hours a day because they're being suffocated, which is literally stifling and limiting the divine force, life force energy. And the other thing is, when people are in fear, they cannot critically think for themselves. The brain is impaired. This is heart math science now. It's literally impaired, kind of like, you know, almost drunk, but it's oxygen, because the safe amount, I think, is like 20 to 20.5 oxygen parts, you know, when you have a clear airflow. But with this over the face, for as little as 10 seconds, the oxygen is only 17.5. And if you did a measurement with like a hazardous gas detector or what have you, it shows just in a few seconds that it'll go off as an alarm. So those are like the first two that are like the practical, obvious ones. And then the triggers are kind of like, the whole idea is like they're under hypnosis. One single point of focus, that this thing is happening, and there's no other way out of it than this one way. And when they get the whole collective consciousness to agree to that, that's how that massive psychosis happens. And then the triggers, though, I'm sure you ladies can add more on what the triggers might be. But I mean, that is the foundational part, right? Limited brain function, in fear, can't ask questions, can't think, as a start.
Yeah, there's so many layers of awakening to do. You know, we're you know, as much as we feel we may have awakened, there's so much more so many more shells to disappear for us to get a much broader picture into timelines, future, past, realms. You know, there's so much more. We're only doing just this because we are still connected to, you know, whether we like it or not, to the collective mind. You know, and as much as we are awakening, you know, it's quite easy to be pulled back because we're in this matrix simulation. So I think it's very important to really start noticing is what is it truly that is keeping this massive gnosis going? Because once that is going, the awakening will speed up much faster, and it's needed, I feel.
I was going to say one very obvious one is it's all the triggers are just all over the television and all over Netflix.
Mhm.
They're in every movie.
And
Whether it's, yeah. Have you seen how many TV shows, series, films, hexagon, even goal nets on football now? They used to be squares and now it's hexagons. And it's hexagons everywhere because that's being used. It's a beautiful symbol. It's the being, it's the hive mind and the collective consciousness and the six-sided shape, and the six is the number of love. That's been totally inverted and it's being stamped all over everybody's consciousness as the hive mind, as in you are going to do as you were told, the AI hive mind.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's just one of the things you can notice. And what strikes me the most when you and Chrissy and you and Paula and Chrissy were speaking there was in the word hypnosis is the obvious word gnosis, which is to know.
yes.
Like gnosis is like pure knowing, pure awareness. So anything that tries to tell you what you should know and that makes your knowing limited in that you don't have a choice. And like you were saying, funneling your knowing into one singular option without having any questions, without there being a choice. And that's where the fear comes in, because you feel like, oh my God, I've only got this option and nothing else. That's never the truth.
Mm.
There is so much choice. Because when you're in that state of gnosis, in your own inner knowing, going back again and again to this knowing yourself as a source being of unconditional light and love, as a fractal of pure creative consciousness, you can know anything you choose to know.
Mm-hmm.
You can have 10, 20, 100 different options pop open into your awareness the moment you're open to knowing what you know and what knowledge is available to you. But when you're presented with that you have no choice and that you can only do this, yeah, we're going to act like little frightened children or frightened rabbits, and we're going to not be able to help ourselves. And I see people not being able to literally help themselves and falling into trap after trap after trap, like wounded little bunnies. It's just like, oh, so yeah, anything. And anything you're watching on telly, you can, if you watch it with your eyes open, you can go, oh, there's that symbol again, there's that hand gesture, there's that thing, there's those words, trust us. You know, even in the movies, it's quite funny when you get the, you know, you get the heroes who are running away from, let's say, the elites or the cops or the, you know, whatever, or the Illuminati. They will tell you, listen out for this phrase because that's how they trap you. It's like all the information is in there. It's just really listening with your senses open and going, interesting, I've heard that again. Oh, I've heard that again. And I've heard that again. I wonder why. So I think it's kind of, when you start having the eyes to look, you start seeing it, like yellow cars. You know, you won't see a yellow car ever. And then when you suddenly start thinking about yellow cars, suddenly they're everywhere. You never noticed them. So you can do that with these triggers. And just stay in the place, your own knowing, like we've all kept saying over and over again.
Exactly. So I'm just looking at the time. Go ahead, Nina, add. And then what I was thinking is, we're just looking at the time. Perhaps you finish your thought, and then maybe, as Tara had suggested earlier, we'll just do a quick little roundtable. I know Jen shared that she's writing her third book, but maybe we can share some of the creative projects that we've been working on to help support humanity. And, you know, because it's the way our heart is best expressed when we create from there. So Nina, you're going to share something, and then maybe we can wrap up with that at the end. Would that be okay? everybody?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. It's when I was going to acting school years ago, I had a teacher who she would never talk about the spiritual connection to acting. And she never said, well, this is from your past lives. But the interesting thing about it was that we were sort of being told to channel the emotion or connect to the archetype and embody that emotion. And even if we had never gone through the experience ourselves, I remember one day she said to us, well, but it exists within all of you. And I went, aha. So she has a spiritual connection and she knows on some level that we're all connected. So a lot of what I practice for myself and I have been doing for a long time and am teaching as well is fake it till you make it, essentially, because either you're going to be programmed to respond or to react, which creates an emotional feeling within you, which then causes you to embody a character that would be either, in this case, a shadow aspect of an archetype, or you can take and look at that shadow archetype aspect, shift it by saying, okay, well, what is on the other side of this? Because every archetype has a shadow side and has a light side. And this is all, we're taking back what's been inverted or the lifetimes that we played out the inversion of that archetype. That's been a lot of what I've been looking at too within my own masculine and feminine. But you can fake it till you make it. And that's how I've been manifesting a lot in my own personal reality, like quite quickly recently is, well, what is it like? In another future timeline, you're already living that experience out. So if you connect yourself in that future timeline and you start living in that future timeline, next thing you know, that becomes your now timeline because it's all happening now anyways. It's really similar to what you're saying, Jen.
Yes, definitely. It is all about the feeling. That is definitely the fast track to manifestation. Definitely. Thank you, Nina. Yeah, I was just going to say in response to Chrissy's question, the triggers are the repetitive hypnotic thing, aren't they? And the fact that you know, like when the I don't know how to say it, the third one came out in the UK, and it was like every single newspaper had identical front page, like 12 newspapers had identical front pages. Do you know what I mean? They're not even hiding it anymore, and it's just like mass hypnosis for you there. But yeah, no, I've just been with my family. They're the most, oh my god, they're shockingly blue pilled. It's absolutely, it's just shocking. It's like, yeah, the bifurcation is real. Like, you know, I'm the only awake person in my family, but you know, they treat me very, 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 very well. Like the fact that, you know, that they're all on the same page. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, flabbergasting and amazing. But anyway, so just to wrap up, I've got, in a couple of days, I'm going to be hosting a Activate Your Spiritual Business Dana, which is a 2-day masterclass to assist people to step away from the corporate and the federal world so that we become source beings and independent and financially independent. So I'm going to really, really help people locate their Dharma and what it is that they've actually incarnated on this planet to share. And we're going to go on a really, really deep sort of initiation process to initiate loads of people into creating their spiritual businesses. So that's that. And I've been doing a lot of work with the nervous system as well, and I'm really, really drawn to help as many people like calm and settle their nervous system as possible. So I just did a transmission yesterday. I've started a 21-day nervous system recalibration challenge, and I'm going to be running a 21-day nervous system container on the 15th. So they're my little offerings. I'm sure we'll post all the links if anyone wants any more information. So I'd love to hear what you beautiful goddesses are offering.
I love how much you create, Jen. You're prolific. You're just like an engine that just doesn't stop. You're super great.
Proper prolific.
You are. I adore that about you. It's brilliant. Thanks for everything you're doing.
Well,
I'm really excited. Oh no, go on. Sorry.
No, you go first and then I'll go.
Yeah, I'm an excitable little pixie today. I'm like, sorry. well, as everybody knows that, you know, I'm kind of the biggest champion for self-love and the how-to with I Love You Me. And I'm really excited for two reasons. One, because what I'd been running for the last year online as the Self-Love Club, I've just taken away all the barriers and I've recreated all of the content and put it on a completely different platform. So now it's like an open membership platform where people can join and access all these loads and loads of guided healing meditations that I've created for all different kinds of things. Because with the I Love You Me method, you're deconditioning, you're cleaning away those memories, those beliefs, all of the things that have trapped you, harmed you, blocked you, limited you, all those things that have tripped you up. And it's just a beautiful, angelic-like cleaning process that brings you back to who you really are, so that you're super for manifesting and, you know, being in your divinity and your sovereignty. So all of that stuff, I just took away all the barriers. I added loads more content and I've made it all for free, because I'm so blessed, because I did so much of my own self-love and a lot of my own clearing and cleaning. And because I sit in this is my reality, and I know exactly what my window will look like when I open it. And I know what my sofa is going to be like. And I've been so good at visualizing and manifesting. I've manifested myself this perfect life where I don't have to work anymore. I live in the most beautiful place. I'm deliriously happy with my partner. Like, everything I ever wanted happened. And I dreamed it and I created it so, with this power of self-love, right? So what Jen's saying, totally agree with, and doing the inner self-love. So I made all of that totally for free. So everyone can just sign up. And what I'd really love to see happen is that people open the gift and use it and then pass it on and share it with other people. Because it's just like, how many people can we have massive impact with this year in 2022? How many people, even if they've never heard of self-love or they think they're really good at it, everybody can gain something from this and really maximize that love frequency in every single person, and therefore collectively on the planet. I'm like, what kind of impact is that going to have? And it's free and it's easy. You just have to, like Jen said, you just have to open it and choose and be committed to doing it, to loving and serving yourself, and therefore then loving and serving the collective and all humanity. So I'm going to invite everyone just to go open that gift and then share it prolifically. And let's see how many people. I've got a goal of 100,000 people in my head. But really, my secret goal is 1 million by the end of 2022. And free, I'm going to have ready the professional training available that I've recreated. And instead of it being a whole year, it now only takes 12 weeks, and it's certified and accredited, and it's absolutely epic. And that launches tomorrow to be able to sign up. And the course actually starts. There's only 12 places on the first batch going through. And that starts in March. So if you want to actually be a transformational self-love therapist and work professionally with people with their self-love and their self-connection, then it's really amazing. I'm super excited about that. So thank you. Thanks for letting me share that.
Thank you, Paula. That's wonderful. Well, I got busy too. I got busy while we went through this COVID nonsense for the last couple of years. I wrote a workshop specifically for first responders. So there's comments and feedback from a number of police agencies on my website where they've taken it. So that's all about stress resilience. I also created one for the public, which is creating a healthy mindset. And then what I created this year is it's called a Mind Your Mind series. So mindyourmindseries.com will be live in a week or two. And it's a 6-part little 20-minute teaching. So 6 parts. The first part is called the Echo. And that's really about you're large and in charge, and you're responsible for everything that you put into your consciousness, everything. So imagine your mind is being completely empty. You choose what you bring in. Part 2 is panic is never a good strategy. Part 3 is who's driving the bus. And that's really about, is your ego driving your life or the higher self, or what I like to call the hearted self. Part 4 is called the blind spot. We all have things that we don't see. Some things are obvious. Some things we take action without even thinking. And sometimes we don't want to look at stuff, which is kind of appropriate, I suppose you could say, for the collective right now. It's a bit hard for them maybe to see that. Part 5 is the greatest show on earth happens behind the eyes. And then the last part is the longest journey you will ever take is from the head to the heart. So it's really light. It'll help people stay in a positive vibration moment to moment, because as we've all talked about, it's all about the vibration, the vibrational universe, and the heart will call to you what is in there. So again, you can go to ersibrainproject.org for more information on the cause of the support that we're looking at doing. mindyourmindseries.com, and it's all about helping people with stress and anxiety. So thank you for letting me share that too. That's what I've been up to.
You want to go first, Nina?
You can go, love.
Okay, so I've just released a film called The Wisdom Keepers, and I'm actually really happy with it because it's a real message all around. Well, it's about the Cathars predominantly, but really how it's related to today. And it's really all about stepping out of duality and letting go of all our beliefs, dogmas, and everything. And we're visiting these amazing sacred sites in the south of France. And watching it myself, even though I've created it, when I watch it, I can feel my light body activate because there's there's codes in that film. I'm interviewing this man, Marcel Messing. He's an absolute, amazing expert on the Cathars. And he, for some reason, he activates codes basically. So I really recommend for people to watch that, which can be watched on Iconic. If you don't want a membership, you can do a free trial. And on that same platform, we also have a series that I produced with David Icke, and that is called The Nature of Reality. And that could really help people also to look at what is the simulation we're in, etc., etc. So those two things I really want to plug to, to assist people in their journey. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited because one of my biggest dreams I've been waiting for the divine timing to arrive has now arrived, and I have a new band called Starsong Galactic Lounge. The amazing thing about it is that it all came together in about 6.5 weeks, which is kind of shockingly unreal. So all of the music just keeps being downloaded, and I write the melodies and the lyrics, and then I'm working with Jade Lyons and John Dumas, who are both also world-renowned musicians in their own rights. And it's quite a cosmic connection, to the point where I will be receiving the melody and writing the lyrics, and Jade will be making the beats. So it's electronica, a bit of trip hop, and a little bit of world, kind of like an ascended version of Portishead. It's very sensual and very heartgasmic. And we actually recently opened for an amazing band called Yaima, who is, they have been performing for years and years. They're so beautiful, and we were invited to open them at the Sedona Performing Arts Theater. So that was a really big deal for us. It was so beautiful to perform for the community and the tribe. And then we went and toured with them in Phoenix. And so there's going to be a lot more of that going on. We are going to be making our album in a couple months, because in March, we're going to be in Las Vegas at the Megacon. My dear sister, Sarah Adams, invited us to be a part of that. So we're going to be performing there. We're going to be a part of the opening ceremony. We plan to do some online live arts, and the reason why this means so much to me is because as we were talking about the programming and the music and in the movies, well, one of the best things you can do is be listening to music that is super galactified, and all of these lyrics, it's like the light language finally started I became grounded enough that the light language could finally translate into human earth translations. So that's really, really exciting. I went back on Instagram. It's like a big deal because it's almost 2 years since I think I was kicked off. So I'm Galactic Diva 11, but I'm just using it for the band. I'm continuing the Venus class that I began in 2021. We're going into a deeper container. And also I'll be working this year. I've been working so much with the Christ of Venus star. I'm going to be doing a lot of classes around divine union, but specifically for men to encounter their own inner divine feminine and for women to encounter their own inner divine masculine. And I've been receiving a lot of ceremonial ritual downloads and practicing those myself, and moving also into the direction of doing in-person group classes. There's been a lot of requests for me to start doing that here in Sedona with the divine union unification in a similar way to constellation work, but specifically around masculine feminine archetypes and the shifting from the shadow of the masculine feminine to the integrated source light masculine and feminine. Yeah, so lots of course, I still do my one-on-one sessions, but going to be doing a lot more group classes so that people can just get those codes out there on a larger, grander scale. So very, very exciting things going on. I'm very grateful.
See, so there's so much support for anybody out there. And so likely for our audience, a lot of this is probably part of their common language anyway. So obviously share this with anyone you feel that could benefit from any of the, we share this because if it worked for us, it might work for you. That's all. And there's many, many paths, right? Many, many paths home. They say there's no wrong way, but there can be the long way. And I'm into running into the heart, into the arms of source, because it's time. So on that note, please don't hang up yet, girls. Thank you everybody for joining. God bless you. 2022, allow the heart to lead you. Allow the heart to lead and create and just dream big. Take all the limitations off, and we'll see you all very soon. God bless. Thanks for joining.